on YouTube here.
Sweet.
And
Also
we're
gonna say hi to the
live.
bear.
What's up?
Just gonna say hi to the bear.
Oh, yeah. Hey! Hey, bear.
Look at that.
You got a bear behind you?
Yeah, it's a little sweater. I use it for sound dampening.
Smart.
Oh, I love it.
It's a good choice. I think it's an excellent choice.
Indeed.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to the
What's
show.
up, YouTube?
We've got our special guest with us tonight. We've got Mr. Teddy Gales here with us, hanging out. Super exciting. Listen, I know a lot of you are out there trying. You're in the queue to get into Overwatch 2. Just relax, all right? Relax, okay? You got to wait for 20,000 other people to get in. Just minimize it. Hang out with us while you try to get into your queue, okay? I understand.
If you're waiting in the queue, just
All right, chill your tits.
Right?
it.
Yeah.
See,
It's
seamless.
a big night.
We've got Zinni here. Hi, Zinni. Meow to you. And of course, you know, we've got the mighty Richie from You Haven't Heard This Music podcast. Hi, Richie.
Richie's staying up far too late,
Yes, as always.
but we love him for it.
Yes. And I don't think he's here, but since you all are here and you're here early, I'm gonna let you in on a new soundbite. Hold on, Zinni. We'll ask the question. She asked the same question of all our guests.
All right, chill your tits.
Relax.
All right, here we go. We got a new soundbite. It's a new Noah soundbite. So hold on. Here we go.
Oh my god, I'm gonna buff.
So there we go. We got another one to add to the Noah ranks. So
In the minute that we see him pop into the chat,
yes, I'm on it. I'm
he's
all
gonna hate
over it.
it. Yes.
So yes, got a
Just
lot of
like
cool
Noah
stuff.
was all over. Never mind.
Yeah. Actually, Noah was streaming earlier today. He spent 2 hours trying to get into Overwatch 2, and he didn't get in. So
Oh,
it was a real womp womp. Yes, Ed Sheeran is on our show, Richie. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah. No, I get that a lot.
So he's like, that's who he looks like. Yeah.
Mhm.
You're like, that's not the first time, and it won't be the last time.
No, not at all.
But you know what? That's not a bad thing, you know, to be
not at all.
compared to. You know, people do a double take.
No,
like,
listen. If I could have a series of hit songs that will live forever in like TJ Maxx's and Walmart's, just constant. Listen, what a career,
right? Just pack it up and retire because you're gonna be living off
that's
those
it.
residuals,
Like,
baby.
Yeah, absolutely. I got that lovely, maybe not quite Starbucks playlist, but yeah, the TJ Maxx's and Walmart's of the world.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Getting
Oh.
mentioned by Doja Cat.
Noah, I'm so glad you're here. I got something for you.
Oh my god, I'm gonna buff.
Yay!
Thanks, Noah. Thanks for
Noah.
the new one.
Thank you for that, buddy. Glad you're here. Hey, did you get into Overwatch 2 yet? I hope you did.
All signs point to no.
Yes, I got in for about 2 minutes, and then
Did you?
got disconnected, and I was like, it's launch day. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You don't know what context I can use that for? Oh, Noah. Have you seen the
just
show?
Yeah.
Have you seen the show? We make it work, for better or worse. You got 6 games in. Good job. Way to go, man. You did it. Congratulations. It's fantastic. Well, anyway, I think we're looking good. I think we're sounding good. I think it's time to get the show on the road. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And we have an excellently special guest this week. He is a comedian. He is a performer, an actor, an overall wonderful human. Please welcome Teddy Gales.
Thanks, y'all. Excited to be here. Me and my closet are very, very happy.
I gotta say, it's a good setup. It's a really great
It is.
setup. People don't realize the effectiveness of a closet with clothes to dampen the sound.
Yeah, right behind this camera here it's like all of my winter coats, and then you just add like a little pillow, little sweater behind you, and it's silent in here.
It's amazing
You
what
sound
you can
wonderful.
do. Yeah, you sound
Thank you.
excellent.
Thank you.
And I like that you have the pillow there in case mid recording or mid podcast, whatever you're doing, you can just kind of.
Oh, truthfully, yeah, I could just kind of
Yeah.
nod off right over here. Yeah.
That's very cozy. I remember going to a museum one time, and you had to like walk under like this little like halfway of carpet, and you walk into a room and there's a piano. It's just wall to wall, like rolls of carpet attached to the wall, and it was so crazy silent in there. And there was no one there playing the piano, but I guess the idea was that someone could play the piano. You could be outside of that and not hear it because the carpet just absorbed the sound. And I just remember stepping in that room being like, holy crap, this is wild. So this is all you got to do to soundproof. I just get giant rolls of carpet, glue it to the wall, and you're good to go. There you go.
Absolutely. Also, moving blankets are a big one.
Okay.
Those just like completely take out all sound.
Yeah.
I actually gotta get some for this. I feel like it'll step it up even more.
That's amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. Would you guys ever that like the most soundproof room in the world thing they have? I don't know if it's like at MIT or up in Minnesota, wherever it is. Would you guys want to do that? I have
Absolutely
a deep desire to do it, but I'm also terrified at the same time.
I have heard that it is like truly one of the most terrifying experiences because I've heard things of like it's so quiet that all of a sudden for the first time in your life you can like hear your bones moving because like normally you would not be able to even like perceive that, but like it's so quiet that you like can feel your organs shifting. I don't know how true that is. I just remember reading a post about that where like if you spend too much time in the room, you could literally go insane, and like that is terrifying. I also have a horrible fear of like not drowning, but like open water and that kind of like pressure. And I feel like that would be a similar experience. And I don't like that. I don't mess with that.
Like,
I totally
what
do
happens
it.
then? What happens if like the door like gets jammed and you can't get out and you just
God.
forced to spend like 2-3 hours in there while they try to get the door unlocked?
Yeah. I feel like your thoughts would then get like, because you could already hear your own thoughts, you know, but I feel like it would feel like a person in the room with you. And that's terrifying.
I'd love to go in there. I think it'd be cool.
I would love to watch someone in there.
What would I do in there? I mean, what are you supposed to do in there? I mean,
like, would you sing to yourself? Would you just sit and like?
Let's be honest. I'd probably fart. I would not intentionally, but it would happen. You know.
Yeah.
And inevitably it would happen. And
they'd sound so loud.
Right.
Like,
That's where you want to record farts. Is in that room right there.
Absolutely.
That would be amazing.
Full range.
I don't know. I just lay there and just kind of like, absorb the experience, I think it'd be really interesting.
Given 10 minutes, what would you do, Teddy? Only 10 minutes and the door will open. You don't have to worry.
But you have to guess when it's 10 minutes. Otherwise, you stay in there forever.
10 minutes is so long. 10 minutes is such a long time when you're doing nothing. Right. 10 minutes is an eternity. I feel like, I don't know. I'd probably like yell or like sing or something and see what that sounded like.
Yeah.
Because I bet your voice would sound different.
Mm-hmm.
It has to, right?
It has to. That's what's so terrifying. Is it's like that thing of, like certain kinds of like underwater creatures can see like colors that we've never seen before. I feel like it would be like that. Like you'd hear things about yourself that you've never heard before. And the sound of my own voice is sometimes a little like, when you like hear it back, I feel like this would be like all the different ranges and all the little minutia I'm finally hearing. God,
you basically get to be Daredevil for 10 minutes.
Right.
A little bit. Yeah. I feel like, maybe you just sit there and like snap around the room.
Yeah, but the thing is, I feel like that'd be Daredevil's worst nightmare because nothing bounces in that room. So like he'd be
truly blind.
There, he's like, oh shit, I'm truly blind. Yeah.
Maybe he'd feel like he's floating,
Right?
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. Oh man.
Speaking of floating, sensory deprivation tanks. There's another one that I would love.
I'd love to try that. I've heard those are cool.
I feel like that's almost worse for you, Teddy.
Yeah, because the water, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Water, dark, tight space.
Right.
Yeah, just.
Yep.
But here's the thing: you can touch the bottom, so that's the thing. Because for me, it's the idea of like we're gonna throw you in a pool, but you can't see the bottom, and you're just sitting there, and it's quiet. And you have to tread water. And you're like, I don't like this. I don't like this.
It's that, and those pool rooms where there's like no windows. And it's just like a pool with a roof. God, that stuff freaks me out. It's so unsettling to me. Like, I don't know why. Ugh.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
All right. Well, we've covered worst fears. I mean, I don't know what else we have to talk about.
Right.
All right. See you later, guys.
Well, we do have a question from Zinni in the audience. Yeah. The regular question. She needs to know. She's chomping at the bit. What is your favorite Pokemon and why?
Favorite Pokemon? I loved Bulbasaur when I was a kid because I grew up in Vermont, and so I think that I really liked like the forest and all that.
Okay.
But I really liked Bulbasaur and then Venusaur, but I didn't like the middle one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's also that thing like no one else liked Bulbasaur, so maybe I like felt a little bad for it because like no one was choosing like the grass type, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I really I like reptiles,
Mhm.
and I feel like Bulbasaur is just like a big old turtle. You know what I mean? There's also that turtle one that I forget the name of that has the big tree coming out of it as well. But yeah, when I was like real young and like Pokemon was first like hitting the scene, I very much like Bulbasaur.
That's awesome.
Got a
Your
little
answer-
wits.
Your answer is acceptable to Zinni. She writes,
Okay.
woot, 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 I accept this. Team Bulbasaur for life.
Hell yeah.
And
Love
Emilio says Squirtle Squad is best squad. So
Squirtle Squad is pretty cool. That episode is the one that I always like remember from like my childhood because it always used to play on repeat like all the time when Pokemon when the series first came out.
Sure.
Like,
it's funny how there's those episodes of things that you catch. And for the record, Justin and I know absolutely nothing about Pokemon, so this is always great
Sure.
when we ask these
Heck
questions
yeah.
because I'm like, you can say whatever words you want, and we'll be like, cool. I don't even know that's a
That's awesome.
Pokemon. Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty early episode in the like original run of like
Okay.
the what I was seeing on like WB Kids,
Yeah, right.
and so they would play because there weren't many other episodes. They just like play that one like over and over and over again for a while. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's so
Yeah.
good. Well,
There you
Zenny,
go.
her thirst is quenched for this episode. Thank you for asking, Zenny, as always, and keeping us on our toes. Before we get started, let's get through some housekeeping real quick, and then we'll really dig into it with Ted here. But real quick, if you don't know, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/mindgappodcast. All our socials are that too. We do live stream the podcast on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central, and I host a live stream of some video games on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. This Saturday, we're doing an Overwatch 2 stream. So we're trying to get a 5-on-5 within the Mind Gap community, which would be really fun. So come check that out. That game just dropped like literally as we're recording this on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central on youtube.com/mindgappodcast. So should be fun to check that out. If you're here watching us live or if you're watching the episode on YouTube, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Costs you nothing. I had some random dude come by the stream on Saturday. He was like, you got 6 people watching and no likes? He's like, guys, the likes are free. That guy, Goblin was his name, was right. The likes are free. It costs you nothing. So like, subscribe. No pressure. Do it. And if you'd like to contribute more, if you want to be like, you know what, free, that's too basic bitch for me. I want to throw some real money their way. You can always check out our Patreon, patreon.com/mindgappodcast. You can also check out our merch at redbubble.com. Also, check out our Discord. Join the community of Mind Gap. Link is in the description down below on YouTube. And if you're listening on the cool places like Good Pods, which apparently we hit some charts on there, which was like awesome, which is great. Check us out on Good Pods. Write, review, subscribe, or wherever else you're listening to this. That's fantastic. We appreciate you. And housekeeping over. Justin, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Thank you. I would like to get one little bit of housekeeping out of the way. Speaking of donating money, we are currently still in our crowdfunding campaign for Love and Improv. So please go to loveandimprovfilm.com. On there, there's a link to our Seed and Spark campaign where you can donate $1, $100, $10 million, whatever you are financially set up to do, you can do that. And it helps us. Every dollar helps. And I mean that. Like if we get to whatever our threshold is for payout and we're $1 short, we don't get it. So every dollar can make a difference. So please, loveandimprovfilm.com and click on the Seed and Spark link on there, and that'll take you to our crowdfunding page where you can donate. And because the audio version of last week's episode just dropped, we are going to extend the time period of the offering that Adam Smestad gave last week. And for every $100 raised from the Mind Gap community, he will take a 1 ounce shot of like some Scorpion Tabasco sauce. And then I think it's like 50,000 Scovilles or something like that. And then if we raise $2,000 from the Mind Gap community, he will come back on and he will do the 1 chip challenge. So We've got a few more days to do that. If you're watching this live, you can still do that. If you hear this next week, the timeline will probably be over. But please go donate. And I also bring this up because our esteemed guest, Mr. Teddy Gales, has been cast in our movie, and he is playing the role of Rick. So, woo! We're looking at Rick right here. So, Teddy, give us a little bit about yourself and who you are, what you do, and then we can talk a little bit about the role you're playing.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me on. It's gonna be great. My name's Teddy. I've been a Chicago actor comedian for I just hit my 10th year in the city.
Hell yeah.
Now that does include college, so it is kind of that a little thing. I kind of feel like it's really only been about 6 years in the city because I was spending most of the time, in the downtown campus and all that. But 10 years in Chicago, 6 years as a actor and performer. As far as comedy goes, I started doing improv about my junior year of college. We had a non-college sanctioned college team that we would go out to the playground theater and do their college nights and stuff like that. I did some studying at IO for improv, and then I did a stand-up training at Second City, which was super fun. And then nowadays I do a lot more digital sketch comedy. There was a while where I kind of not took a break from comedy because you never do, but I just wasn't performing really improv anymore. I wasn't doing sketch anymore. I about 6 years ago or so, I was also trying to do more digital sketch, kind of got burnt out, took a little bit of a break. And then I would say around 2021, I really started getting back into sketch. And now it's a big part of my life again. So yeah. Yeah.
Where can people find you? I know you're pretty prolific on the socials. Where can people check you out?
So on Instagram, you can find me at TeddyG_comedy. So TEDDYG_comedy. And then on TikTok, I'm just at Teddy Gales. I'm very lucky to have snagged just my name. So on TikTok, it's at Teddy Gales. And I post a lot of my sketches on there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've watched several of them, and they're good stuff. So
Thank
great
you.
work. I really enjoy
that.
it. So
yeah,
y'all should go check him out.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Super exciting.
So let's just talk briefly. We don't have to spend too much time on it, but Love and Improv. Are you? I guess what are your thoughts on the project? Tell people a little bit about. I'll give it over to you to kind of pitch why people should care about this project.
I mean, it's super exciting because it's it's so personal to Chicago. Man, it's definitely a cliche thing to say, but Chicago improv, it is in a lot of improv communities, but Chicago improv in particular is a very specific beast, and it's pretty fun to be having a story that kind of is going to encapsulate not only a lot of just the inside jokes and things like that, but also just the whole experience of being a part of that community. And I think the minute I saw the audition post, I was like, oh man, yeah, I got to at least send something in for this, because this is very personal, in a good way. It's it's like nothing else. Chicago improv, and especially Chicago improv community, is something that I'm not sure why there hasn't been more of a. I mean, I guess. What was it? Big Sick kind of did that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I know there's a page right now on Instagram that's kind of been following the community and talking about it and filming performances and all that, but it amazes me that with how much comedy has come out of Chicago, especially not only just productions but people, and not only just performers but showrunners, writers. I mean, so much of it comes from here, and we don't have a ton of movies that really highlight a lot of that. So when I saw this, I was pretty excited, and I think a lot of people, even if you're familiar with it or not, are gonna love kind of that inside look to the personalness of what it means to be a performer, kind of grinding it out in the Chicago improv and comedy community.
For sure. Yeah. It always amazes me too. Thinking the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater was started because of training that Poehler received in Chicago. And so an entire theater company was, and style was born out of something that has roots in Chicago. And so I think, I've said this in one of my Instagram posts, is like, a lot of people don't realize the weight that the history that is behind the Chicago improv scene. And if you've ever taken a class or seen a show, if you've seen a show, a little bit, you can kind of get a little feel for it. If you've taken a class or spent any time with the people in the community, it's a whole different beast. And once you're kind of touched by that, it's hard to let go of it, because it grabs you. It's intoxicating,
It really is. When I first kind of like got to college, and I had kind of known a little bit about like not only Chicago improv, but like or any real like big city kind of like, small theater, small improv and all that, from like the things in movies and books and all that you read about as like a young kid. Chicago improv is truthfully, in my opinion, the only one that actually kind of lives up to those kinds of like stereotypes in both good and bad ways. Like it's like Chicago improv really is like, you're going to someone's basement at midnight and it's been turned into like a performance hall, and it's some of the funniest stuff you've ever seen in your entire life. And then it's gone, and then it's done like that. You know what I mean? And it really is kind of magical. Like it's of course you have your second cities, and now like IO coming back and like all of that kind of stuff and the annoyance, but it truly is that like that grungy kind of like underground feel to it that really makes it, I think, totally different than anything else you might experience in a lot of other places in the country, which is very special. It does. It hooks you. It's intoxicating. You're totally right.
It's still kind of like when you're describing like that kind of that more of the independent grungy side of it. It has that feel of like punk rock in the 80s in New York.
Yeah.
Like was it CBGB? Like the club, like you would just go and you would see in a very dark room, and you're like, I'm seeing something special here. I don't know what it is, but I know I'm seeing something kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's then so interesting because like, especially, with some of the performers that then go on to do like truly incredible things, there is kind of that sense of like, I remember when they were doing that bit where they were playing like the pastor's son every like midnight show at whatever free thing. And now they're doing that, on like some of the biggest like networks and stages like in the country, but you got to kind of see them like workshop that. Yeah. Or it's like, oh, I remember running into blah, blah, blah show before they were a showrunner who was talking about how, I had this idea for this thing, and now it's like the biggest comedy on TV right now. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
There's this sense of pride of just kind of like, I'm in like a cool think tank,
Yeah. Or like Justin and I talked about this before, but I still have inside bits and jokes and lines that I use, but only like my wife and I know it because we saw the show. And so we will drop these lines, but I'm like, no one knows what this is, and I can't really explain it because it was improv years ago. So I just remember the moments, and for me with improv, it was great in Chicago because, well, again, the pros and the cons, because you were basically performing to other performers. So
right, that is a lot of it. Yeah,
there's a lot of it. So I mean, the good thing about that is like if you can make those people laugh, you're doing great. Because it feels like whether you like it or not, there's critique happening, right? Because if you understand how improv works, you're trying to like break it down. You know the inside scoop. It's only when you go out and then perform for the muggles of the world that don't know how the stuff works, and you do stuff, they're like, holy shit! It's like someone performing magic. They're like, oh, he made that up. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I kind of did. I mean, there's rules, Let's break down how a herald actually works. So and they're like, what? It's like, yeah, that's not what they're here for. But when you can see like. When you understand, like, I don't know, I feel like there was a greater appreciation for me because I knew how the sausage was made. And I've told this story before, but fuck everyone else has ever heard it. I'm going to say it again. But this is one of my favorite moments is the scene started where there was this couple and they were like, oh, I'm so nervous. I hope they're okay. And this guy came in as like a Chicago cop and he's like, is there a prom here? And they go, I'm sorry, what? He goes, is there a prom here? And they're like, are you asking if there's a prom here? He's like, yeah, my daughter. I want to see, is the prom here? What happened was he was trying to say, is there a problem here in a Chicago accent? But he said it weird. And they were like, I'm sorry, are you asking if there's a prom? The guy just immediately said, yep, I'm here for the prom. Yeah. Where's the prom? I'm here to pick up my daughter or whatever. And it turned into this amazing scene. But to this day, my wife and I still go, is there a prom here? Is there a prom? You got a prom here? And again, just a joke that only she and I get. No one else understands it.
Yeah.
Because that night when we were watching the Deltones, and I.O., before they broke into an amazing song, there was is there a prom here? And it made us, it tickled us to this day. And it was beautiful. As an improviser watching that happen, I'm like, I know what he's doing. And that's perfect. That's exactly how you do this craft, is you're yes-anding it. And it's gorgeous and it's lovely. And, you're just mesmerized by the talent as they're doing it. And sometimes it's inspiring. Sometimes it's soul-crushing because you're like, God damn it, I'll never be that good. How do they do that? Like watching TJ and Dave, and you're like, how do these two guys they're so good? Damn it.
Yeah.
And when you say, do you guys know who TJ and Dave are? And they're like, no. I'm like, how do you not know? How do you not know these guys? They're
Did
so
you guys
good.
get a chance to watch the reunion show they just did?
I did, thanks to
No,
you.
They live streamed.
Yeah.
But sorry, you both said, Doug, yes?
I did, thanks to you, Justin.
And Teddy, you said
I did not get a chance to see it. No.
Gotcha. Oh my God, it was again, it was a masterclass, and you're just like, these guys haven't lost a step. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
One thing that you would talking about, like musical improv, I'll never forget, and kind of like when you talk about like how you're performing to performers versus the muggles of the world. When I was going through A through E, I had Anthony LeBlanc sat in on one of my classes as a special teacher, and it was during the time when we were covering musicals, and he was like, the thing you got to remember is that for most people who don't do improv, if you repeat the same line over and over again, most people are just going to be blown away. The fact that you're singing it, people are going to think, they're not going to realize you're saying the same thing. So buy yourself some time, sing 4 lines of the same thing and just let it ride, And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Absolutely. But when you know the rules, it changes it. But if you're just an audience member, you can pull the wool over their eyes real easy with some of the stuff. And it's like they're watching someone perform alchemy on stage.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, whoa.
Yeah. At the same time, people don't understand it. They're like, say something funny. You're like, this isn't stand-up. And even stand-ups don't like that either.
Yeah, because a lot of, as I'm sure both of you know, like some of the train wrecks you see out there when it's, trying to be funny as opposed to just kind of going out there and telling a story. There's some I've seen like recently too, where like there wasn't a joke told once, but you were so captivated because they had this whole story they were doing, and these two characters were on this journey, and you didn't really laugh out loud at all, but you came out being like, that's one of the best things I've ever seen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
That's my favorite stuff.
And
that's what's near and dear to my heart is the long form stuff. Like I recently went to like a short form like games, a show. A friend of mine was in it. And I was like, oh yeah, I never did enjoy the short form games. Like, I get it because that's what most people know from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I'm like, no, sure. I want to sit through 45 minutes of people just fucking around, building something, switching stuff. That's why TJ and Dave is always so much fun because it starts so slow, right? Mm-hmm. They're building the world, and then it starts ramping up as they start switching to other characters. And what's so fun about that kind of show is that it doesn't have to be grounded, but when it's grounded, you can relate, like, because you understand who these characters are that they're portraying. Like you can identify who that is, and just a mannerism, a change in the voice, just whatever, and you're off to the races. And then it's so much fun. And I'm with you. Like, that was the hardest thing to learn, which is like, you're not up here making jokes. This is just, you're listening to what the other person is saying. You are adding to it, and you're just going back and forth. And before you know it, you have this beautiful thing that's happening between your eyes. And it's just like, don't fuck it up. Just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I always used to love when the teachers would call us out when I think Tim Sasko is one of the best examples that we had. Like we'd be up doing a scene and one of us would start to go into the kind of mugging or hamming it up a little bit. And he'd be like, fucking knock it off. It's like, be honest. And he would always call you out if you were doing a bit.
Don't go for jokes.
Don't go for jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was such good stuff, which honestly, that's how this podcast was basically born, was Justin and I essentially, doing improv a little bit here and there every week. It keeps my improv, heart full every week as we do this.
Absolutely.
So, because I miss it, man. I miss it very much.
Teddy, do you ever miss being on stage and doing the improv on a regular basis, or?
I don't know. It's like, honestly, actually tying it back to like the film, when we were auditioning and through those callbacks, and we were doing like, the chemistry reads.
Yeah.
that was some of the first like longer form when you just told us like we're gonna put 5 minutes on the clock. You two, you know, I think the exact prompt you gave us was like you're buying a gift for your daughter. Like just talk, just go. That was some of the first long form that I had done since like, gosh, since like before 2019.
Wow.
And because I do a lot of like commercial acting and things like that. So like improv is always still like a part of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I'm writing sketches, a lot of that comes from like improving it out with someone or just myself or whatever and writing down the best stuff, you know?
Yeah.
However, like that was the first time in a while that I had done that. And I remember coming out of that being like, man, whoa. Like that felt so good. Like
so cool.
I had kind of forgot. Cause like I said, I mean, I'll be honest with y'all. I did have like some burnout because I was doing the thing I was doing, you know, we were performing quite a bit. And at that time you're really young and you really want your group to like do well. And so there's a lot of pressure of like, you know, like, oh, what kind of coach should we get? And we need to be signing up for this thing, but none of us have money and blah, blah, blah. And you do lose a little bit of the like fun that you had with it. And now that I'm older, it's this thing of like, well, now I can just do this.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I don't perform it like really regularly anymore, but it's still such a like huge part of my life. So do I miss it? Yeah, I would say when it's good, yeah, I miss it. But do I miss like a lot of like the grind? I don't know. That's like a love-hate relationship. It's the same way I feel about stand-up. I like doing it when it's like, you know, maybe you're hosting or maybe you're doing a roast or something like that. But as far as like playing the road and stuff like that, that's a specific thing that you've got to like really love.
Yeah.
You know, because that's tough. That is, and I know people who do it and they love it, and like, hey, that's awesome. But it's tough.
Yeah.
As a burgeoning stand-up comedian, to grind out like finding your gigs and going on the road, getting yourself there, putting yourself up, that's just a hill that I would never. I don't have the fortitude to climb that hill.
You gotta want it. You gotta love it, and you gotta want it.
Yeah.
That is one of the that's certainly one of the stand-up. I feel like is still very much like the cliche of how you become, you know, quote unquote, like successful in it is really how it is depicted in a lot of like films and stuff like that. It's like, no, you have to, exactly. You have to want this. You have to be doing, I mean, I know people who do, you know, they're every night they're doing at least one open mic, if not two, sometimes even three. They're doing 9 to 11 to 1. You know, like
crazy,
at 3 different places. Yeah.
Well, that's what's crazy too, is because that's how you get better. You gotta get out there, and you gotta eat shit. You know.
You gotta get out there, and you gotta fail, and you gotta bomb, and you know, So full circle, I do miss it, but there are still some parts of me that are a little like, I prefer sketch.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I would say. Yeah.
Well,
I get
a
little bit more enjoyment out of it.
I respect the fact that you're kind of, you know, everything is kind of at your control for what you can do. You can, you know, with improv, with what I, you know, when I was doing it and stuff like that, I had to rely on other people, you know, the other team, you know, people on the team to go and perform this thing, and you know, which is fine, right? It's fun, everything like that. But there's something about having the control in your own hands to be like, I'm gonna go film a sketch today, and I'm gonna write it. I'm going to be able to record it and produce it and all that sort of stuff, and I'm going to be able to put it out. And I did it. I don't necessarily have to rely on everyone because, listen, I love the improv community, but damn, y'all are unreliable as fuck. Like, flaky as hell. Like, God bless y'all, but man.
That's creatives. Creatives, the constant struggle with creatives, especially when you get into the creative business, is how do you balance the scattered creative mindset with the need to be type A in the business minds. It's a real hard.
No, it's tough.
Yeah.
That was hard.
It's tough. Yeah, absolutely. No, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, and as I get older, honestly, like obviously, like acting is much more of a primary, you know, not only like money earner for me, but just what I do more often now. But as I get older, I start to, and I think this happens with a lot of people. You start to kind of gravitate towards like being behind the camera. You start to gravitate towards, like, you know, one of the projects I'm working on right now, like, although I am performing in it from a sketch comedy standpoint, to a certain extent, I'm starting to feel a little bit more like maybe I want to be more of like kind of like a showrunner position on this, where I understand the point of view that this should all be at, but I don't necessarily have to be in everything. And I think that's like a sign of maturing. I mean, as far as like the flaking and stuff like that, I think it's all like in there, because when you're young and you want to perform, if there's something that's better, you're going to go do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If there's something that you perceive as better, you're going to have more eyes on you, all of that. Why would you go to a midnight show with unless these are like your best friends, but like, why would you? I'm guilty of that. I had a, like a mixer group I was supposed to be a part of, and I went to like 2 shows because like no one ever came.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, well, I don't want to do this. Like no one's coming to see this,
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, it's a little bit more like, I'll let these guys perform, and I'll just be like, yeah, it was good. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, you're like Bulbasaur evolving, right? You're
exactly.
No, yeah,
for real. You get to that point where even as a performer, as much as you love it, you get to that point of just kind of like, I really would just rather kind of not be seen as much.
Yeah.
Like when it's work that I'm creating sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but yeah.
I think that's universal though, because ironically, I was just listening to a podcast for that Aubrey Plaza was on, and she was talking about the new film that she's going to be in. She's also a producer on it, and she was talking about the interviewer asked her, so like, what's next in your career? And she goes, I think I'm at the point where I need to direct something next. Like, so she was thinking the same. She's like, there's this natural evolution where I'll still perform, but I like producing now, and I think the next step has to be the directing. It's almost like you walk a certain path. And so, getting older, you start to, okay, well, let me have more creative control behind the scenes a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how that's more of a universal. That is a universal thing I think people go through.
I can see that too, right? Like some people that still will perform, but they just want to flex their muscles, right, in another way, and just be like, oh, I want to direct. Maybe I want to write. Maybe I want to produce. Maybe, like you said, maybe they step away altogether. Maybe they do all of them at the same time. I think that's a natural thing. Just I think it's curiosity. It's if you have that drive to tell a story, and you're like, listen. I'm just going to direct this one because I think I know exactly, and maybe I'm not in it, but like I know how I want this to go. I have a vision for it. Yeah. I know how I want to make this happen. So I think that makes sense, right? Because it's like any job that you've ever had, where at some point you're like, I'm ready for something else. I'm ready for a different responsibility, a different role, maybe a promotion, maybe it's just a different department, maybe it's a different industry, maybe whatever. Like you're just ready for something new. So I think that totally makes sense.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like when it becomes like your job, because now at this point, like I consider acting more of like my job, and I do love it. And of course, like I'm still going out for things and I love things and all that, but it does kind of get to that point of a little bit of like I make coffee at my job. I don't know if I want to like make that at home. So at home when I'm coming up with stuff that I like passion projects, I'm less of like, it might be this thing where I'm a little less like, I don't know if I want to like actually act in it. I just want to kind of be there like supporting it.
Right. I want to get the thing made. That's really, I want to get it out there, and however that manifests itself, that's cool.
Well, and I think the other thing is when it does become your job, it is serving you like that. So when you have it as it's just serving you in that way, your passion projects become less of a thing that you maybe feel like you need to perform in, you know?
Well, I have a question for you, Teddy.
Yeah.
Are you worried about AI taking your job away?
Oh, as far as like art and voice and all that?
Yeah, man. Are you worried about it?
The voice stuff, and I've heard both of you swear on this, so now I know I can do that. I never know.
Yes,
I never know.
We should have told you. That's why I try to do it early and do it loud. So I'm like, let you know, it's totally cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, the voice AI stuff scares the shit out of me. Because like voice acting is like my primary like source of income, and especially commercial voice acting, and that shit is getting too good. And I already know people in like the voiceover community and all that. Like we've talked about it. Like you can get it to say anything, and it really sounds. Part of the skill of learning like commercial take is having that like commercial rhythm, and not everyone's going to want that, but your basic kind of like, especially more like regional focused things, that's what they want. It's the like come over to blah, blah, blah bank and open up an account, and the AI is so good at that. And so that's definitely scary.
I mean, let me do one for you here. Let me try something out here for you.
Oh, no kidding.
All right, here we go. Let's do this.
So, you're gonna head on down and open up a bank. At bank, if you fucked yourself. Well, guess what? On your man. Come on down. See Justin. Come back. Find the dumpster. Play the link to it on your flips. And he'll open up his trench coat and give you what you need. Baby.
I mean,
Damn.
It's like deep fakes for voice.
Right?
Damn, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Yeah, see,
Is it perfect? No,
yeah.
but I'm gonna have fun
not.
with it and the stuff that I make.
No, and I think that's the thing. I think that for bigger projects, for stuff that they're gonna want the things that aren't perfect about something like that to be smoothed out with like a real voice because they can afford it.
Yeah.
The problem is for a lot of us is that then like all of a sudden those middle things that you do to kind of like work are gonna start to go away.
Right.
Because like why would you? And I mean I I have a subscription. This is a little bit more like AI art kind of stuff, but like I have a subscription to like Midjourney.
Yeah.
And like I've used it for my sketches. When the craziest one, man, when I need a photo of something, like instead of like staging that and making it, like if I'm doing a sketch and I'm making up some news story and it's like, this thing fell from the sky. All I have to do is type in thing falling from sky, looks like blurry old photo. And then it spits it right out. And like, I don't make concept art for a living,
Same.
but I'm sure those people are I don't know. I'd have to talk to someone because maybe they don't. Maybe they're like, no, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I don't think there's going to be enough people that will fully invest in something like that. Like, because it's just easier to contact someone like me than it is because they have the money. But again, I think for those smaller middle jobs, when you're starting out, maybe that'll be the thing is that it's going to get harder to like jump in.
Yeah.
Just from like your talent alone.
Yeah, I mean,
what I mean?
it's a thing on Twitter recently. I mean, this has been something this particular article, Justin and I have been sitting on just because we've been finding other stuff to talk about. But it's, an AI generated artwork won first place at State Fair Fine Arts Competition, and artists are pissed. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, picture's pretty awesome.
It's awesome.
Great looking picture.
It's amazing. It looks good. Now, I think the stipulation here with this is that this guy said he ran it through multiple iterations on an AI, and then he also tweaked it after the fact. He made adjustments to it and things like that. So it wasn't just like type in algorithm and it spat this out. He did modify it, but I think the concept of it, and for the record, for the full context of the story, this guy was very open about like, when he submitted it, he was like, he laid it out there. He wasn't trying to be sneaky or anything like that. When people found out that it was, basically the genesis of it came through an AI, people were really upset. And I found that absolutely fascinating because I think what's possible now with AI is pretty amazing for me. And Justin and I have talked about this before, is that nothing AI is that's being done with AI is threatening my job currently. So I'm like, this is cool. This is neat. Look what I can do with my voice mod. Or, I am building a D&D campaign homebrew thing, and Justin's going to be a part of it. And I'm like, man, I really would love to have this image to kind of set the mood. And I'm like, I can Google as much as I can. I'm not going to find. And I type in just a few words, and I get the exact thing. I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And I find it incredibly useful. Also, my job is in instructional design, so sometimes I need to find stock photos. And, sometimes trying to find that exact thing that's capturing that subjective idea, I can't quite find the right stock photo for it. I can just type that in and I get something pretty similar. You also get horrific things, but, you can get the things that you can then use, in your stuff, as opposed to like, listen, I'm sure I could contact a photographer and be like, hey, I'm looking for this kind of stock photo. They're like, yeah, it's going to be $2,000. Or contacting someone who's a phenomenal artist. I'm like, can you draw this really cool D&D scene for me? They're like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be $150 an hour for me to draw it, and then we're going to have to go back and forth. I'm going to have to give them notes. They're going to have to make adjustments, where I can just go to an AI generator and be like, and then pop it in and get pretty much close to what I want from it. I think that's pretty amazing.
No, it's incredible. I mean, it's probably my favorite game to play when I'm like on the bus.
Right?
Because like the one I use is it's a bot on Discord, and so I just like type in stuff and just wait for it to spit it out. I will say, especially with the one that I use, I don't know about the others, but the one that I use specifically, I have noticed that the computer is but you're starting to notice patterns that when people type in certain things, it only has like a couple frames of reference for what that should look like. And I'm starting to see very similar images.
Teddy, is it gross stuff? Is it gross stuff that people are typing in that's like, listen,
no, it's like cityscapes specifically.
It's like, listen, I'm really tired of pulling up Christina Hendricks wet in a shower with giant boobs. When Justin and I went in Midjourney for a hot second, that's all I saw was people just trying to get the right Christina Hendricks photo.
No,
they were horrifying.
I was at like with my like D&D group. We were like we were starting a new campaign, and so we were like playing around on Midjourney to make like character avatars, and there was this one guy who he was like 45 different tries with this one specific like warrior princess thing, and he kept trying to make like the slit on the dress like higher and higher. You can tell from his like typing. It's like, dude is really trying, because it won't allow you to type certain words. So the way he was trying to describe what he wanted to get around the thing was hysterical. We were watching it in like real time as each image was spat out. Like
that's the one good and bad thing about Midjourney is you could, because Justin was the only reason why I knew that, because I told him similar thing. I'm like, hey, find a photo or a portrait of your character, and you're like, and he just was like, he went on, found this thing, typed in, got an amazing portrait out of it, but then he was like, listen, I get to see what everyone else is typing in here, and I don't like it at all.
Yeah, you can.
And I can only imagine that guy just being like, I want labia minora showing. You know, he's just like starts typing in different like aspects to like get real specific about what's.
Yeah. As soon as I got my character image, I was like, cool, I'm leaving this Discord right now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But what I was trying to get at was like, I was making some like, cityscape cyberpunk looking like thing for like maybe try to find some like get like a wallpaper for my computer or whatever, right? And it spat out an image that I like really liked, and I had it as like my phone background for a couple months, right? On some of the online forums with like AI art to show off like the best stuff, especially with Midjourney that it's like come up with. I kid you not, in the last 2 months seen 4 images that aren't exactly like the one I made, but some of the buildings are the exact thing, just put in different places in the image. So there are limitations. I honestly, it is pretty infinite, but it's also not, clearly, because there are certain things that the computer is going to reference as like the most, what it thinks represents that, and that's what it's going to use. So I think if there is like something to be like hopeful about as far as like artists are concerned, is that at a certain point it's only going to take what it thinks is the best representation of the word that you put in, as opposed to a creative representation of what that could be. So if you type in like brick building, it might only have like 1,000 things that it's actually going to spit out, as opposed to someone coming up with an entirely new thing that has never been seen before in reference to a brick building.
Don't you think
the
it's
only
just,
thing I'll say.
It's just learning. It just needs time. Like Teddy, could you see us in like 2 years? 3
Well,
years.
and that's the thing. The more that's uploaded to the internet, the more projects that people do make from their mind. The robot's gonna see that and take that creative brief and then be like, "Oh, cool," because like you can tell that it's cycling through things that are most viewed by us and most appreciated by us, and it's using that as a reference point to what it should be. Which is why it's so stunning when you type in like panda with a guitar. And it spits out a panda with a guitar, like because it knows what a guitar looks like and it knows what a panda looks like.
Right.
You know, but at a certain point, it might run out of things, and then it'll have to learn new ones.
Yeah.
Or at least to give you the option.
That's
I don't
an
know.
interesting
It's
point.
certainly interesting.
That's a very interesting point about like, it's only as good as what its essentially input is, like what it knows. And I mean, I guess again, I have no idea how any of this stuff works. No clue whatsoever.
No, me either.
But I'm guessing,
Totally
a lot of the stuff is just in its infancy, and it's just still like, I know DALL-E 2 is another one that's sort of like the higher end of that the generation of stuff. And so I think it's only going to get better in a lot of ways. I think it's going to get crisper.
Absolutely.
It's going to get clearer. But I think you're right. If certain things, I don't know, I guess it just depends on what it has as a reference point. Because, Facebook had its AI bot, and that was a real disaster because it just picked up it became Nazi real fast, and it kept telling people to delete Facebook because it was stealing people's data, because that's what it was grabbing, was all the top stuff. And it's like, wow, this bot just turned against this master real fast, like.
Yeah. It was like pretty immediate, wasn't it? Where it's like it was within like a couple days. It was like, oh yeah, the best thing you should do with this is delete it.
Yeah, like don't use it because we're stealing your data. It's like, what? You're the bot. You're the messenger. You're the voice of Sauron.
No one heeded the warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like depending on like, because again, I'm with you. I don't know how it works, but I do get the sense that at some point, similar to how I feel like, people feel about things like home decor, how it all looks the same and we can all buy the same things at every store and all that. I do think with AI at a certain point, we're going to be exposed to it long enough that you're going to start to be able to tell the difference because it's going to have certain things that it keeps doing because that's like the reference point that it has. I mean, I spent enough time on Midjourney now that when I see like, I follow like vintage like sci-fi accounts because I like love that stuff like on Instagram, and they've started doing that because they need more content. They're posting like AI art and trying to pass it off as like thing, and you can tell because if you spent enough time on Midjourney, you know what the computer does when it wants to make like an oil painting. It has a certain look, so it almost begs the question like, does AI art have its own style and its own point of view inside of it that should be considered as art? Like,
that you just flipped the script on me because I did not think that's where you were going. That's an interesting
no, for
thought.
real. Like you spend enough time on it and you start to notice very similar things. At this point, I can pretty confidently pick out what like a Midjourney oil painting looks like. Because the computer does certain things that's always the same, no matter what you type in.
Yeah.
Like,
it's interesting you pull that up because recently, over the last like 5 days or so, especially over the weekend on Twitter, I just saw a lot of the stuff blowing up where people were arguing about, like, some people are all in on the AI stuff, calling it art.
Yeah, it's cool.
And other people are like, this is an art, which is an amazing, like, I will be here to sit on the sidelines with my bucket of popcorn and watch this all day, every day. It is endlessly amusing to me. And in particular, there was this one, I think Justin shared the link with you, Teddy, of this guy at Suhail has this image and he says, they say it's soulless. And he has this image that he pulls up and you look at it and you're like, at first glance, I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat, actually. It looks very... it's colorful. It's got, these two characters. They look like, cute whatever, cute bunnies or something, creatures, and, they're walking together. It's something. But then as you start looking closer at it, it's like, wait, the hands look like they're not holding together. Looks like they're molded together.
It can't do hands. It has a really hard
Just
time
like
with
most people can't do hands, right? They
Yeah.
can't draw hands.
Which begs the question: is it? Yeah, like
Is it human?
well,
I think so.
listen,
That's it.
It's an absolute paradox because again, it's using what we have put into it to learn.
Yes. Right.
So it's only as good as what we've been able to create, and it's just mashing those things together. Which I think that you could make the argument. I don't know if I agree with this, but I guess you could make the argument like you could use stuff like that for inspiration. And how is that any different than you looking at every other collection of all human things and going, "Oh, I could do that and change a couple things, and now it's mine."
Yeah.
That's all the AI is doing.
That's
it's
true.
just taking reference points and changing it to
Yeah.
your like specific thing, mashing them together to get as close as it can.
Absolutely.
Like,
No, it's very true. And I mean, I know they've used some of this AI generation for artists and art class to kind of get their juices flowing, to give them inspiration to look at something and create something, or use it as a way to do concept art for like storyboarding for whatever. So you can instantly be like, this is kind of what I'm thinking for this. So it can kind of help speed things along.
Because it's not coming from nowhere. It's coming from something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that something is us. So I think it's worth at least thinking about where it's like it can't necessarily be soulless because we're the one feeding it.
Yes. Some of the reactions to this though have been. I'm sorry, Justin. Go ahead.
Nope, I was just gonna affirm what Teddy said. Go ahead.
Some of the reactions to this though have been endlessly entertaining for me.
Oh,
It's just
absolutely.
people, especially this one in particular, they looked at. They're like, "This looks like the cover of the game that's always 90% off on the Xbox Game Store." And I was just like, that's amazing. That's hilarious. Because a lot of people, honestly, the people that are really for this are also feel like the same people that are really for crypto.
Yes,
and that
I was
they're
about to say the same thing.
they're just really, or like NFTs. They're like, look at this,
Right.
and they say this is soulless, and then like someone really broke it down as well with what did they say? I think I had a link to it here. No, I forget what it was. Oh yeah, I have it right here in the thing. It said, "Dang, bro, can you tell me the meaning of the piece? Why you chose those colors? Why you placed the characters here and what they represent? What's the story here? Oh, it's just nice to look at. It's just manufactured to look nice. Seems pretty shallow, perhaps.
Yeah.
Even soulless." And someone replies to that. They go, "The story is me type word, pretty image, ooga booga." You know, like just.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I also totally agree with that. That was honestly, that's a perfect example because like I feel like with NFTs, like when they were first really like the technology behind it was really starting to get popular with online forums and stuff like that, being like, this is the future. One thing that always really stuck out with it, and it's the same thing I feel like with AI art, is that the only reason why they're so obsessed with it is because they're like, because it's on the internet or because it's made by a robot, it will have value. Because it's on the blockchain, it will have value. And it's like, no, man, it's still just art dealing. It's just whatever you think it's worth.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not. Because it's on the blockchain, it is worth something. And it's like, no, it's not. Not at all.
That's not how it
I feel
works.
like it's the same thing with AI art. It's like, yes, it's there, but I still don't think it will ever like replace humans. Not just because that's an optimistic view on it, but because you're absolutely right. It's like, why did you put this here? Why is this thing here? Yes, it's a pretty image, but the people who want art and the people who want to like create those things, that's never going to go away.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and at a certain point, you're creating entirely new markets where people are like, is this AI or is it like whatever? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and because of that, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be what the new now, you know, how they have the people who can go through and say, yes, this is a true Da Vinci or this is a replicant Da Vinci. You know, they're going to have people who are going to be able to specialize now and go through and say, is this AI art or is this an original creation from someone?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be a whole new. See, one job goes away, a new job springs up.
That's
Whole
right.
new marketplace. Yeah. Cottage industry pops up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because there's this other guy that he tweeted earlier today. I found it, and it's at George Crudo, Crudo, and he just goes, "My art is doomed. I just got owned." And essentially, he had this post where he's like introducing himself as a digital sculptor, 3D art, and it shows like a bunch of like Nintendo characters like Princess Peach and Link and things like that. He goes, "You can see my portfolio," and then someone like replied to it and goes, "I created this with AI," and it's just like an AI bird. And then someone else goes, "And this, it's another AI bird." He's like, "Dude, seriously, embrace the technology and evolve. You can't win, sadly." And this guy goes, "My art is doomed. I just got owned." You know, like as if these two things can't exist at the same time. You know what I mean?
They absolutely can, and I think that's the thing. I think it's the same thing with crypto and real money. It's like people are like, it will replace everything. Well, it can't. You think the bodega down the street is gonna start asking you what your you know, like what
you got the new Ethereum or are you on Bitcoin? You know, like
yeah.
Like, well, how are you supposed? No, they're not gonna adopt that. We can barely get them to check their email, and you think they're gonna like?
Their credit card machine never works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I feel like they're chronically online takes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, that's such a good point. Yeah, really looking at it because we Doug and I will dive into the philosophical side of it and really get bogged down with the the nitty gritty, and then you take it and you look at it from that. You're just like, yeah, but who's making the arguments? It's only people online. It's all about It really is. I don't think that as big of a worry as a lot of people are making it out to be.
Oh,
it's that exact phenomenon of like the headline will say everyone is freaking out over insert thing here, and then you go a few days and you've never heard an actual person say anything about this,
right?
Like, yeah,
it's like people on Twitter, which is a fraction of percentage of people that are actually doing this. But it's funny because this guy, it just devolves into this ridiculous debate because this guy goes, if you were looking for context on how all of this happened, it was this comment that said, artists tend to be a lot more emotional than logical. It's not worth engaging them on these topics. And this artist goes,
oh my.
Hi, friend. How is it logical for someone who types a prompt to be considered an artist, but when someone hires someone else for a commission, the person being hired is considered the artist? And it becomes now, it just goes down this tube where people are trying to define what's an artist to a point where people start bringing Subway into it. And this guy replies, if I got to choose between a zillion options and then some guy at Subway is executing my order, then of course I am the creator of the sandwich and not the guy. He's just executing what I'm telling him. Like you're telling Blender what to do for you.
Oh my God.
This is why.
It's like, I think it's overused, but it's like the touch grass thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I know, like, for real. It's like, oh my God. Like, that's another, I could go on for hours about this. This is great.
Yeah. It's it just turns into this useless debate, which is also fun at the same time. It's still fun because
it's hysterical.
It opens up this idea of like, is the AI the artist, or is it the person typing the words? Are they both artists? Are they none? I mean, what,
I'm going to say neither. I also don't think someone making a sandwich at Subway should be called a sandwich artist. Then that's just me.
That's skilled labor is what that is,
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's what that is.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're typing words into a prompt.
That just comes down to I would originally say like, oh, how good are you describing the thing that's in your brain? But then it's also like, well, also how well does this AI understand what you're describing? So it's a partnership in ultimate doom is what it is. Like that's where the road leads to. Mount Doom.
AI art, a partnership in ultimate doom.
Yeah.
It is pretty funny the measuring contest though of people being like, I typed this in better than you could. You know what I mean? That's hysterical.
Oh.
That is some man, figure out what kind of promotion you need, or maybe you need a new game or some new friends or something. Because when you get to that point of but look what I made, it's all right.
Well, I think the balls to also go to someone who's obviously an extremely talented artist to be like, oh yeah, well I made this bird by typing in some words into a computer. Eat shit. It's like, can we both be proud? Does one's not necessarily better than the other? I mean, I can respect this person, for being able to do this, and also well, that's cool. You found something that generates this bird. That's cool, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's also cool. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's wild.
It's weird how we always do. It's always it's either or.
Yeah,
it's either or. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's This is where it all ends, gents. This is how it ends. All part of the road to Mount Doom, y'all.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think it's about that time. So buckle in and get ready. It's that time.
Of context.
Oh my god, I'm gonna buff.
See, Noah, we found a way to use it.
Yeah, fuck you, Noah. So, yes. Welcome to Anime Out of Context.
I was
Hey.
waiting for Richie's intro. Was not expecting that one.
Yeah, that's yours, buddy.
I made that on an iPhone.
And it's beautiful. So you are an artist.
Art, is it art?
It is art. You're an artist. You're a musician.
I play none of those instruments.
You are an instrument artist person. Way to go.
Awesome.
All right. So, if this is your first time at this segment, get ready because it's going to be fun. Essentially what this is I, at this time, have procured a scene from an anime. This one is Bastard with 2 exclamation points. You can watch it on Netflix or don't. I don't really recommend it. I just watch it for content to be used in this particular segment. Essentially, I've written this script. Normally, it's just Justin and I, but Teddy is here to also join in on this. Teddy has got his work cut out for him tonight because Teddy is playing 2 roles. Yeah. And generally how I do this is I stick Justin with the roles that say the most stuff and the most insane stuff. But Teddy, you are going to be doing the honors tonight. Now, Teddy has not seen this. Justin has not seen this. I typed it up, unfortunately. So the way this is going to work is, Teddy, you are going to be playing Dark Schneider, which is in the yellow, the gold, and you're also going to be playing Doshi, which is in the green. I've given a little bit of a description as to what these are. Dark Schneider's a powerful spellcaster bent on taking over the world. So that's sort of your inspiration for who this character is. Because I find it infinitely more interesting when you don't know a lot about these characters. I just give you a little tidbits of things, kind of like where they're coming from. Doshi is a very short and arrogant necromancer who overcompensates about himself over, like, everything. Just overcompensating, super arrogant, like, all the time. And you'll see it when you're going through the dialogue, like, what this guy's really like. Justin, you're going to be playing Gara, the powerful ninja master. I will be playing Nay, a powerful elven warrior, Empress of Thunder, adopted child and lover, gross, of Dark Schneider. I'll also be reading the... yep, you read that right. You heard that right. I'll also be reading the stage directions as well to kind of, like, get that stuff going. So, we'll read this. It's a relatively short scene. It's just over 4 pages. And essentially, you make it your own. You have fun. And we just roll. It's anime out of context. And this is from Bastard, Season 1, Episode 15, called The Triumphant Return. And here we go. An army of zombies stands on the bridge to Metallicana. Doshi, a squat man in robes, stands at the head of the army, smiling as he stares at large swaths of magical energy emanating from the center of the castle.
This aura. Something big is happening in there. Hey, Lynch, hurry up and get rid of those 2. I got a bad feeling about this.
We're off to an amazing start. Lynch, a large metal-clad warrior with an axe, stares down, that's supposed to say Nay, and Gara, who stand in defensive stances, ready to fight.
What is going on?
It can't be.
When you've been around as long as me, there's nothing that surprises you.
I thought you fools were smarter than that. You should know you're no match for Lynch. He was created by me, Doshi, the world-famous necromancer. I created him by assembling the very best parts collected from the corpses of 100 of the strongest warriors and knights. Lynch is the ultimate undead soldier. I, Doshi, the world-famous necromancer, granted Lynch my magic power, and Lord Abigail gave him the demon mail, the legendary suit of armor. Lynch is now invincible! A couple of weaklings like you can never beat him. Enjoy the show as Ninja Master Gara and Nay, the Empress of Thunder, meet their demise at the hands of the magnificent work created by me, Doshi, the world-famous necromancer!
Famous? None of us have ever heard of you, Shorty. Now hurry up and send your little puppet over here so I can chop him to pieces, armor and all.
I'll show you the power of the ultimate secrets of the sword! Gara and Nay begin to glow with power as they summon their respective energies.
I'm not short. And you're gonna pay for that. Show them what you're made of, Lynch. Go kill the traitors!
Lynch leaps forward with his axe held high. Nay and Gara leap as well to meet him in the air.
True Magician!
Secret Howkin Thunderclaw Strike! Gara and Nay land their blows with a blinding light. They look on proudly.
No way!
Serves you right, Pipsqueak.
Suddenly, Lynch appears out of the blinding light and swings his axe, hitting the ground with such force that Gara and Nay are blown backwards into a nearby rock wall.
Your swords won't work against the demon male. You'll soon find out how impotent you fools are against us!
What's going on here? Something's affecting my strength. I'm too...
Doshi leaps over to Gara and Nay.
I thought you used to be one of the 4 divine knights. You're so weak. There's no point in trying to fight. At this very moment, Athrasax awakes. The god of destruction's tremendous energy is flowing into Lynch and the demon male. I'd say at your current level, you can't touch Lynch. You couldn't even put a scratch on his armor.
I can't die like this. Darsh might come back to life.
Damn, this is bad. Now my vision's getting hazy.
Doshi kicks Nay in the head and throws her and Gara to the ground. He begins kicking them in the stomach and back as he talks.
Your newfound power of good is useless. You're nothing in the face of the power of the god of destruction's overwhelming evil. Do you understand now? I'm going to teach you two a lesson. I'm going to make you pay dearly for your wisecrack about me being short.
Lynch steps forward, gripping his axe, and stares down at Gara and Nay. He begins swinging his axe above his head, gathering energy. As he's about to bring his axe down, he's kicked by Dark Schneider!
You're the one who's dying here.
What? No way.
Hold on. What's going on? Where did this guy come from? You're not the only ones who got stronger with the power of evil. I'm gonna smack you back to where you came from. Now go!
Dark Schneider unleashes a torrent of punches and kicks before sending a particularly powerful punch at Doshi, knocking him and Lynch high into the air.
You're kidding.
You heard me. Go back to hell and take your corpses with you. Damned!
As Dark Schneider speaks the magic word, Lynch and Doshi explode. Doshi screams in pain as Lynch melts away in the all-consuming blaze. Only the demon male remains. Nay runs into Dark Schneider with tears of joy in her eyes and jumps into his arms.
It's okay. There, don't cry. Everything's all right.
What the heck is going on here? Are you really alive? Are you sure you're not an undead?
You idiot. Look at my long legs. They're real. You think you would have learned by now that handsome young heroes like me are immortal. But comedic side characters like you, the gods created in their spare time is a joke. Never come back to life once they're dead. You should be more careful.
You're such a bastard.
And scene. That was...
I feel like the end of that was like regional theater.
1,000%.
First of all, Teddy, you actually nailed that voice of Doshi. Like, that sounded very, very close to what the anime actually sounded like.
I feel like they they all have that, like, for my Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there, like that Weevil Underwood, like, you're not getting away this time. Ah! Like, all short characters.
Yes.
Who are upset about being short sound the same.
Yeah.
You can tell which one of the three of us is a professional voice actor,
Yes.
too.
Absolutely. I did my best to give myself the least amount of lines in that. I was like, I want Justin and Teddy to have fun with this. So,
Yeah, that's good.
and this didn't disappoint because I'm sorry, that first monologue you had, I created him by assembling the very best parts of collected from the corpses of 100 dead strongest warriors and knights. Lynch is the ultimate undead. Like, it's just unnecessary exposition.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And he says at least 3 times in that monologue that he is Doshi, the world famous necromancer. Like, he's makes sure to say that. And I just love all anime has a lot of over explaining. You know, you sometimes get the internal dialogue of like what they're doing, what they're planning, and everything like that. And then then there's this where people are like, I'm going to use my superpower ability to cut through his armor because then, you know, and we've done this with previous Bastard episodes where it's like, you know, vampires are weak against the following magic. Blah, 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 blah. So if they do this, then they should be good. But if not, then they're going to be in trouble. And it's just
all caught up audience.
Yeah, it's like, do you get it? And yeah.
I truly think that that more boomers and older folk would love anime because they treat the audience the same way that like procedural cop shows do, where like they'll be standing over a dead body and they'll be like, looks like he was shot in the head, and it's like we can clearly see that he was fucking shot in the head.
Yeah,
and it's like with a bullet, no less. Oh, you're right, with a bullet.
Yeah,
like, and then there's the they would love it because it's every moment is explained and then explained further in case you didn't get it.
Yeah. And some are better than others. Like some will leave you like to your imagination and they leave the visuals to kind of tell the story. Not this show. This show I think is intentionally like silly in a lot of ways.
I love it. Yeah.
Like it's the guy who originally wrote this was huge into like metal bands in the 80s, so that's where things like Metallicana is the name of a city. Anthrax is then the god of destruction from Anthrax. You've got, you know, the spells that they cast are sometimes like Guns N' Roses is what he casts to cast the spell.
That's funny.
You know, and so just, the Darth Snyder's really obnoxious. He says multiple times, he's like, basically like, I'm the main character, I can't die. You know, he just says bizarre shit like that. It's absurd.
I thought Demon Mail, that's what happens when you send an email to the wrong email address, right? You get that bounce back?
That's Matt Damon mail.
My bad.
Oh.
Okay.
See?
That's the difference.
Common mistake. Common mistake.
Yeah.
I used to get scared shitless when I was, first had my Hotmail account and I got the demon mail came back to me. I was like, what have, because it's all caps. I'm like, what have I done?
Oh no.
What have I summoned?
Oh man.
This is bad. Well,
I wrought on my inbox.
Teddy, thank you so much for being game for that, man.
That
like,
was so good.
Yeah, that was super fun. I love that.
That was the first time we've done that with a guest, so that was super fun, and I had a lot of fun being like, all right, who's Teddy going to play? I'm like, I'll have him play 2 characters because they only overlap 1 time in the conversation, so that should be really fun. So you did a fantastic job. Thank you for that.
Thank you for typing this up. Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. And if you want to contribute to this, if you have your own scene you would love to have us all do, which we've done once, and you want to surprise me, just all you got to do is type it up. You got to send it over to us. Hit us up, mindgappodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on any of our socials. Send us your scene. Give us a little bit of direction, like who you want to play what, and just kind of a little description of the characters, and then we'll just take it from there. Job will be done. We will accept your submissions.
If anyone out there is a talented artist and wants to animate or reanimate what we are doing with these, go ahead. We'll have you on as a guest. That's the offer.
And same thing, if you're an artist that is also wants to AI generate this, we're here for it as well. So,
Sure, why not?
Whatever. You do you. So,
if you're an expert typer who wants to AI generate, I'm not going to call you an artist. You're an expert keyboardist.
That's just, I don't know, man. Get with the times, Justin. Jesus. Woo! All right. Now it's time to move on to recommendations. This is the part of the show where we recommend stuff. Stuff that we've watched, consumed, read, watched, otherwise. things that we're interested in that we think you would enjoy. And I think we're going to start with Justin. Justin, what do you recommend for this week?
So I have really been digging House of Dragons, House of the Dragon. I don't even know what the fuck it's called. The new HBO House of the Dragon. That's it. Yeah, it's surprisingly, if you go back and listen to the episode we did when Game of Thrones ended, I was trying my hardest to defend it, and I have since come around to it was not a good ending for that show. This is a wonderful surprise. I've been enjoying it. So I would say if you liked Game of Thrones, were upset about how it ended, and you want a palate cleanser, go check this show out. I think you might enjoy it. It's set 200 years before Game of Thrones, so you're not getting any of that storyline. But you're seeing some cool visuals, and all the incest is there, so that's fun.
Great. I can take a break from my Pornhub searches and watch House of the Dragon. Great.
There you go. Look, HBO's just trying to bring it to you mainstream. That's all it is.
That's cool. That's right. Let's normalize incest.
Stop opening an incognito window on your browser. Stop searching for it. Just come to HBO. It's not TV. It's porn.
Whew. Teddy, what do you got to recommend?
I'm trying to think. I tend not to be a big like TV watcher over the summer. I feel like especially in Chicago, I try to take advantage of that while it's happening.
Right.
But if y'all haven't already been on the Abbott Elementary train, man, it just already season 2, like they're just getting better and better. I feel like that show gets better with every single episode. It really fills that hole of the just comedy, just workplace comedy, Yeah. You sit down, you watch an episode, you have some laughs. It's great. They had one of the funniest bits I've seen in a long time in their second episode this season. And I would spoil it, but it involves my favorite character in it. And I love that. I would say things I was watching before. We're dating myself months back now, but man, I got on a Righteous Gemstones kick, and if you haven't seen that, my God, is that some of the most funny but also truly creative television I've seen in a long time. That stuff, that is it's wild. It's absolutely wild. I love it so much. I'm very excited for season 3 of that. Cool. You know what? This is a personal recommendation. And this isn't along the lines of things you should but this is a little activity I think everyone should do. Go to your local record / DVD place. That's still kind of trying to sell a lot of those kind of collector's items, and ask for the thing that they are the most proud of on the shelf. Because a lot of times what you're going to get, and I just had an experience buying some more of these. I do this once a year because it's always very expensive. But I buy a couple of collector's pieces from these people. Cool. And I just got recommended and bought a DVD. It was Japanese toy commercials from the 70s and 80s, as well as it was a compilation of safety videos for nuclear bomb shelters and stuff like that from the 50s and 60s. Really great stuff. As well as a John Candy and Eugene Levy special that they did for HBO, speaking of, back in 84. And it's them as these polka artists. And he was I don't know if anyone else has a DVD of this. And but if you it is for sale if you would like it. And I bought that. And so here's my recommendation. You go out to those places, you find yourself some fun lost media, you'll have a great time.
That's awesome.
Is an incredible recommendation. Probably one of the best recommendations we've ever had. So
yeah. Easy.
Nice. For me this week, I started it last week and I finished it. Cyberpunk 2077 Edge Runners. It's on Netflix.
Oh, the animated thing. I gotta check that out. I've heard it's so good.
It's pretty good. If you're familiar with that series, you'll probably like it. I haven't delved too much in it. I haven't played the game or anything like that, but it came very highly recommended, and I watched it. It's actually a good anime. And it's super violent, so heads up to anyone who might be squeamish with that. It's got a pretty cool soundtrack, I feel like, and I just really enjoyed the story. Essentially, just the overall gist of it is there's a a kid living in Cyberpunk City. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I'm going to call it. And times are tough. And this is a place where a lot of folks will do what they call putting chrome in their bodies. Essentially, they're adding mechanical adjustments that allow them to do kind of almost superhuman stuff. He comes across a piece. He has to make a decision whether he wants to be a good boy or a bad boy, and you kind of follow his journey. And it's really interesting, really cool, and I think it's only 10 episodes. They're like 25 minutes. So it's small time investment, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I burned through it last week. I watched the first 2 episodes, and then I was off to the races. So, again, it's on Netflix. I highly recommend it. One of these days, maybe we'll do anime out of context with a good show like that. Who knows?
That'd be fun.
That would be fun because they speak in a very specific like vocabulary where sometimes you're like, huh? What? But what's crazy is by the end of it, you understand what they're saying. Like, you get it. You get the context. It's like reading a book that's really heavy on the jargon, and you're like, what the fuck does this mean? But then you, through context, you're like, I know what that means now. And it's kind of cool how that works out. So check that stuff out. But more importantly, check Teddy out. Teddy, once again, where can people find you?
Yeah, again, you can find all of my sketch comedy and comedy stuff on Instagram at TeddyG_comedy, or if you just type in Teddy G comedy, it should come right up there. The thumbnail is me with a lovely parka around my whole body, and I'm screaming into the abyss, so it's hard to miss. And then you can also find me on TikTok if that's also your preferred way of consuming things. I know Instagram Reels is like not cool. You can find
Tell that to my wife. She thinks it's pretty cool.
Well, that's the thing. Like it's you get the stuff weeks later is really what it is. It's like
enough.
all the things that were viral last week, Reels gets it the next week. But you can find me on TikTok at Teddy Gales, just one word, TEDDYGALES.
Very cool. Please go check out Teddy. He's got some great stuff. Be cool.
I actually, I'm the finale of a web series I had been like working on since like earlier this summer. We just actually today filmed like the final scene of it, so that'll be out soon.
Nice.
So, find me, catch up on all the mountains goodness, and get ready for that finale. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Very cool. Also, don't forget to follow MindGap at all your favorite social media places. We're on TikTok. We're not prolific, but we're there. We post our clips there sometimes. You can follow us on our social medias at MindGap Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MindGap Podcast. Join us for one of our live streams. Podcast on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central. Video game stream featuring me and the MindGap All-Stars on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. This Saturday, October the 8th, we'll be streaming Overwatch 2. I almost said October 2. What the fuck's wrong with me? Overwatch 2, so come check that out. Join our Discord. Link in the description. Check us out on Patreon. Check us out on redbubble.com. All that good stuff. And also, don't forget to follow Justin as well.
On Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on Good Pods, Podbean, Caster. What's the one we just charted on?
Good Pods.
Cool. Good Pods. Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, all the places that you can find and consume quality podcast. You can find us. Rate, review, share, all those things. The big one is sharing because it's caring, and we want you to let people know that we are out there and we exist. And then 2east8th.com and 2east8th and all of social media. And of course, do not forget loveandimprovfilm.com. Go to the Seed and Spark campaign, donate anything that you can, and help us get this film made so that Teddy can keep working. Please keep taking the job.
Yeah, it's imperative.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Teddy, thanks so much for coming by and hanging out with us. This was an absolute delight. And for the record, you're welcome to come back anytime you want. Because
I'd love to. I feel like on our list of topics, we hit AI art and we did not stop. So we got plenty other things.
So much more I'd love to talk to you about. So I think we could have a lot of fun. So thanks so much for being here with us this week. You're the goddamn best. Absolutely. And with that being said, I'll say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Chat, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
And you all have a dandy fucking week. Yay! That's the recording.
Woo!
We did it. That was really great.
YouTube, thank you for hanging out. We had some good people hanging out.
Yeah, I wanted to say something earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. But Emilio Gonzalez says he loves your sketches on TikTok, Teddy. So.
Oh, heck yeah. That's nice.
Yeah. very, very, very solid group of folks checking out everything. So appreciate you all stopping by to hang out with us and with Teddy. Now you're free to go get in the queue for Overwatch 2. Go have fun, y'all. Enjoy yourselves. Go try out the new hero if you've got the battle pass and everything like that. If it's working, I just also saw someone post in our Discord that Blizzard got a DDoS attack, which is why their servers weren't working. So,
Of course.
shitty day for them, but hopefully it'll get figured out. But until next time, remember Saturday, 8 p.m. Central, Overwatch stream. Come hang out. Come do all that other stuff. We'll have a good time. And we'll see you next time, gang. Bye.
Bye.